as they say in fantasy medieval times. My name is Nick. This is Board Game Brawl, and today we're taking a look at Lords of Waterdeep, a game that kinda, sorta has a lot or a little to do with Dungeons and Dragons. This is basically a worker placement game for 2 to 5 players that has the D&D theme very thinly pasted on. Now, I'm a former Dungeons and Dragons player and Dungeon Master, so I definitely purchased this game initially with the thought that, wow, Dungeons and Dragons in board game form. Not quite, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't look good, and it doesn't mean that it doesn't play good. But how good does it play? Well, this was an immensely popular game, so a lot of people think this is the bee's knees, as the kids like to say. But what do I think, and what should you think? Because what I think is what you should think. Well, we're going to take a look at all the components. We're going to show you a little bit about how to play, and then we're going to come back and I'll tell you what to think. So Lords of Waterdeep isn't too complicated a game, but there are a lot of moving parts, and I'm just going to give you a brief overview of everything that it has to offer. So at the start, every player is going to choose one of these faction cards. And really, all the factions are the same. They just have different names, and they'll determine what color you're going to play as. So you have black, blue, red, green, and yellow. So once you see, looking at the faction cards, that it just has some spaces for you to store some of the components. So you'll put your completed quests here. You'll line your active quests up along this side. Your completed plot quests, which are different than the regular quests, and your store your available agents and your gold down here somewhere. And that's basically how all the cards are. The next thing you're going to do is randomly deal out one of these Lord of Waterdeep cards to each player. And you're going to keep this card secret during the course of the game because each card has a different type of bonus that the players can get. And all of these characters are famous from the Forgotten Realms campaign setting of Dungeons & Dragons. So you have Briginian the Paladin's son, and his special ability says that at the end of the game, you score 4 victory points for each piety quest and each warfare quest that you completed. And that's how most of these cards actually work. So Kelvin Arunson has the same thing, but his is for Arcana in warfare. And Mert the Moneylender is for commerce and piety. There are a couple that have some slightly different abilities. For instance, the Builder, everyone calls her the Builder, Larissa, gives you 6 bonus victory points for every building you control. Very powerful card. But everyone's going to keep this card secret so the other players can't see in order to help prevent other players from trying to impede your progress too much. Once everyone's got their color and their character, gameplay begins. Now, there's a lot of different bits on the board, and this is all about point maximization. The best way you're going to get points is by completing quests. And there are 5 different types of normal quest cards. You have Commerce, Warfare, Arcana, and Skullduggery. They all look basically the same, but they might give you different stuff. And so down here is the reward that you get if you're able to complete this quest. In this case, it's 25 victory points. But in order to do that, you have to have all this stuff up here. Now, these little yellow squares are actually coins. So in order to complete this quest, you're going to have that many coins. And these little cubes represent adventurers that you need for the quest. So the white cubes, which are these right here, represent clerics. Then this quest also needs black cubes and purple cubes. The black cubes are rogues. The purple cubes are wizards. And there are actually orange cubes as well, usually used in warfare quests that represent fighters. On your turn, if you meet all these prerequisites, you're going to be able to turn in this quest completed. You'll put it in your completed quest pile on your character tracker card, and you'll score those many points on the victory track, which is right here. You'll take your little colored pawn and move it up. The game takes place over 8 rounds. Whoever has the most points wins. Now, there are other types of special quests called plot quests that will actually give you even better stuff. Not only will you get some victory points, usually a smaller amount than cards like the last one I showed you, but you'll get some sort of special ability. So it'll stay in play, and for instance, this card, Recover the Magister's Orb, which is an Arcana quest, says that once per round you can actually assign an agent to a space containing another opponent's agent. So what are agents? Agents are the little pawns that each player is going to get to place out around the city on the turn. And you get a different amount of pawns depending on the number of players. But in turn order, every player is going to put one of their pawns on a different area of the board. This is a worker placement game. So wherever you place your little pawn, your agent, you're going to gain that ability. Some are very simple. So if you go to the Field of Triumph, it says on the board that you get 2 orange cubes, 2 fighters. You'll immediately take them from the stock, put them on your card, and hold them for later use, mostly for completing quests. There's one for the rogues as well, and for wizards, which are a little more rare, so you only get 1 cube at Castle Blackstaff Tower. But some places do different stuff. So at Castle Waterdeep, you'll get to draw an intrigue card and take the first player marker. The intrigue cards are interesting little cards that you'll use on your turn to have some sort of effect. So some like call for adventurers, just let you take more adventurers from the stock, which are the cubes. And some of them are mandatory plot quests that you will actually inflict on the other players. Players cannot complete other quests that they have until they complete these mandatory quests if you place them on them. So that can be kind of annoying. You can only play your intrigue cards if you go to Waterdeep Harbor, which actually has 3 spots for workers. But if there's more than 3 players, you're only going to be able to put, then it might fill up fast. You could theoretically put more than one of your own agents there if no one else has taken the spot by the time your turn comes around again. Because everyone's going to place down 1 agent, and then it's going to go around again until everyone runs out of agents. There are other spots that will let you get gold. There's one spot called the Builder's Hall, which will let you choose one of these face-up building tiles, pay its cost, and put it into play. Much like the quest cards, they have a different cost. So this one says that, usually gold though. This one costs 4 gold. The Dragon Tower costs 3, and the Golden Horn costs 4. Once you have this in play, if you're the one that builds it, you'll actually take one of your little symbols that corresponds to your color and to your character card, and you'll place it right there, and you'll put it on the board and put your little symbol there saying that you own it. Now, whenever anyone chooses to put one of their pawns on this spot, once the building is built, you're going to gain this ability up here. You can spend 2 gold to take either 2 white, 2 purple, or a combination of both cubes. If you are not the owner and you land on this spot, you must also pay the owner 2 gold. So it really is beneficial to own a building rather than just use someone else's. Now you may notice that there are also these little gems on each of these building tiles out here, and in fact they're stacked up on this, which is the round counter. These just represent victory points. Every time a new round pops up, you are going to take the stack of 3 victory points here and put them on one on every unbuilt building out here available for purchase. Whenever someone actually builds one of those buildings that has the victory point gems on them, you get to take those as extra bonus points. And the game is going to end after 8 rounds. Now in the 5th round, after you remove the gems, everyone gets a bonus agent from the stock down here. There's a place for a 6th agent, but there is not a 6th player in the game yet. That's for a future expansion. And there's one more area here that I should talk about regarding placing your workers, and that's a Cliff Watch Inn, which actually has 3 different spots. Each one does something different. And again, you can place multiple workers there if the spots haven't been taken yet. The first one allows you to draw a quest card, to take a quest card from here, and take 2 gold. The second spot lets you take a quest card and an intrigue card. And the third spot will basically will reset the quests, and so you can wipe all these away, put 4 new ones out, and then take one of those 4. Whenever someone removes a quest, you're going to replace it directly from the pile as well. And that's basically how you play the game. You're going to keep going like this until after the 8th round is complete. Once the 8th round is complete, whoever has the most points is the winner. So that's Lords of Waterdeep, a game that doesn't really have all that much to do with Dungeons & Dragons. But in their defense, I'm going to say that I really appreciate the fact that they went the extra mile to put some really nice artwork on the cover of the box, and some really nice artwork for all the cards, and the actual board with the map of Waterdeep, which for all the uber nerds out there like me who actually know what Waterdeep should look like on a map, that really is the extra little step. And so I like all that. I like the quest. I like the idea of it. You could really get into the theme of this game if you tried. And if you squint really hard, you can see the Dungeons & Dragons theme. But honestly, that doesn't matter because this is a good, solid game. It's a good, solid worker placement game, which is not everyone's cup of tea. But if it is, this is a nice little entry level into that genre. The theme helps that along. There are other worker placement games that don't even pretend to have a theme. This one at least tries. And it's very competitive. This is not, there are some Euro games that can kind of feel like solitaire because there's no player interaction and you're just doing point maximization in whatever way you deem fit without worrying about the other players too much. In this game, you can get screwed over very badly by the other players, and you can screw the other players over very badly just by hitting them with one of those compulsory mission cards, or by just hate placing one of your workers at a place where your opponents want to go. Sometimes it's worth sacrificing a beneficial turn if it means that you can impede the progress of your neighbor. And it has its faults. There is definitely a power gap between some of the roles, some of the lords of Waterdeep. It's common knowledge among my group that if you're the builder, you're probably going to win. And I've had some people complain that we should actually take the card out, that it should not be a role that's viable for any game that we play. I don't like doing that. I don't like house rolling games like that, so we just leave it in. But it has been the case most of the time that the builder has won. And some of the other roles are a little bit more powerful than the others too. But overall, because it's not a very long game, even if you feel like you got shafted and you didn't have as fulfilling as experience as the other players that you lost pretty badly, well, who cares? 60 to 90 minutes and you're out. And I think that the one thing that this game needs very badly as well is variety. It can get a little old and a little stale if you play it enough times. And this game has been out long enough now and it's become popular enough that a lot of people have played it a lot. But there's an expansion on the way, which I'm eagerly looking forward to, the Scoundrels of Skullport, and we'll see what that does. Maybe it will even enhance the theme a bit. And the board kind of hints at there being a sixth player available. I'm not sure if that's the best idea, but it could certainly introduce some new concepts to the game. I like it. The components are very nice, and everything about the game is of high production value, and it's a very good worker placement game. So that's Lords of Waterdeep. If you're a Dungeons & Dragons player who's looking for a very fulfilling Dungeons & Dragons experience in board game form, you've probably got better options like Castle Ravenloft or Wrath of Ashardalon or The Legend of Drizzt. I never knew how to say that. I'm ashamed. But if you are a Euro gamer or a board gamer in general who wants a little bit of theme on your Euros as opposed to the really dry ones like Kalis, this actually is going to be right up your alley because it's a very solid game. Well, I'm Nick. This is Board Game Brawl signing off and telling you to get out there and game every day and in every way.